Greetings, it's Ian from RTO here. My second thing today, we've done Mastermind Dave's birthday. So, again, happy birthday, Dave. Yeah, happy birthday. He's up the road from him, literally. 60.
Yes, 60 odd miles, I would say, yeah. 60 odd miles.
Anyway, as you can see, I've got Richard with me again. Good morning, Richard.
Morning, Ian. How are you today?
Hot, muggy, sticky, and is the answer to that.
Yes, I'm the same.
Yeah, so today we're going to tackle the 1960s number 2 hit singles. And we're going to try and not say number 1 today, as last week, or the week before, there was lots of number 1s being said. So we're going to be very good today. Usual format, Richard, me, then Bubbling Unders, and then we'll take you from there. So it's over to you, sir.
Okay. Well, I enjoyed this, although, to be honest, the 1970s, I think, is the better decade. But I do have 5 bubbling unders as well. I'm not too sure how many you have.
5.
5. Oh, well, that's good. We're even Stevens. Well, my number 10 comes from 1969, and it stayed at number 2 for for 3 weeks, and it's the Paul McCartney written "Goodbye" by Mary Hopkin. I absolutely love this song, and I also love Paul's acoustic demo, which you're able to hear on the deluxe version of Abbey Road. But it's the sort of song that should have been on his McCartney 1 album. But it's a beautiful, beautiful song. It's catchy, and it really shows the genius of Paul McCartney with his songwriting, because this is absolutely perfect little acoustic number. Although the Mary Hopkins version has got more instruments, it's still beautifully performed. And there's a lovely video on YouTube, and you actually see Paul and Mary together, and he's going through the chorus and how you actually sing the chorus. Beautiful song from 69, got to number 2 for 3 weeks.
Yeah, great song. And I am looking forward to hearing that version on the Abbey Road as well.
Yeah,
I love Mary Hopkin. You know, I've done a thing on her. So, you know, that is, I think she's great. And that is a great song. You know, it's just, when you listen to it, Mary singing, you know Paul's written it. It's just got Paul McCartney splattered all over it. Great choice. Okay, my number 10 is from someone that you did the new album on the videos. Yes, from 1967. This was actually released in December of 66, but got to number 2 in February, and it is Matthew and Son, Cat Stevens.
Yeah, that's a great song. I never picked it though, but I do like it. I prefer his early 70s to his pop period in the 60s.
I like that track because I used to remember on the radio, Brian Matthew he opened his show with this because it's Matthew and Son. And I love that track anyway. I just love that little bass line and the little bit of trumpets. It's just one of them songs that I've grown up with and I love. Simple as.
It's got an extremely catchy chorus as well, and deserved to get to number 2.
I think, do you know who kept it off number 1? The Monkees. I Am a Believer.
I think I do prefer the Monkees.
Yes, 2 weeks. I think you spent 2 weeks in number 2.
Really good songs. 2 really good songs. Well, my number 9, and if I say she stood there laughing, ha 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 ha, I'm sure you'll guess. And it's Tom Jones and Delilah from 1968, and 3 weeks at number 2. It is brilliant. You have to admit, Tom Jones, he's got a fantastic voice, put it that way. His voice is brilliant, and because of that, he did the big Vegas tour in the Vegas residency, I should say, in the 70s, I believe. But Delilah is an absolutely brilliant song, even with that start, which I think is a little bit reminiscent of the Psycho. It's really, really good. And funny enough, it's not his version I first heard. The very first time I heard that was the sensational Alex Harvey band doing it in the 70s. Do you remember that?
I love it.
Yeah, I like that as well. My brother bought that single, but I do love Tom Jones's original, and I guess my number 9.
I'm not going to say too much about that.
I thought, right, okay.
So we'll go swiftly on to my number 9. And again, it's like you, I've only had one from this band. And it's from 1967. And it was a double A side for the Beatles, Penny Lane and Strawberry Fields Forever. Now, out of the two songs, I prefer Penny Lane. I always have. Strawberry Fields is all right. It's sort of a little bit dull. Yeah, the best bit's at the end.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a huge McCartney fan, but I do prefer Strawberry Fields for some reason. There's something about Penny Lane doesn't quite stick with me, but I can understand you picking it. But as well, what a double A side, and I do know what kept it off the top this time.
Yes. Please release me. Oh, I cannot stand Engelbert Humperdinck for the love of money.
I actually like that song. I can't help it. I've always liked it.
Yeah, 3 weeks at number 2. Engelbert Humperdinck or Jerry Dorsey has a house at Market Harbour, which is about 30 miles away from me.
Well, there you go.
So he's a sort of local resident. Yeah.
There you go.
So there you go.
Well, as I said, and as you said, I'm only picking one per artist. And my number 8 is the other number 2 from your artist, the Beatles, and it is Please Please Me from 1963, which it really is the start of Beatlemania in the UK, and it is fantastic. It's my favourite track off that album. A lot of people would say Twist and Shout or I Saw Her Standing There. But Please Please Me, I just think is a fantastic, brilliant, upbeat single, and I've always loved it. And it was number 3 for 3 weeks on 2 separate occasions this time. And yeah, Please Please Me, their first number 2. Number 1 in nearly every other charts in the UK, but the one that counts, it only got to number 2.
Yeah, it's actually my favourite track off that album as well. I mean, it's just Twist and Shout or Love Me Do, but Please Me, Please Me is just a catchy pop song that sort of started it all, really. That phenomenon, you're right. Yeah, great choice. My number 8. Why, Delilah? Yeah, the first version I heard actually was Tom's.
Was it? All right, there you go.
Yeah, it was played in our house. But then I discovered the version that I love, because I can always remember that bit with Clem and giving it do. So theatrical. It's a great song, and both versions are worthy of being spoken about, even though that didn't get to number 2. But it's just a great song, which has been banned by the Welsh Rugby because of, didn't it? It got banned because of the lyrics.
I don't know.
Won't cricket its best, but the Welsh fans, in their defiance at the Millennium, just sang it anyway because
a way to do it.
Yes, up the mighty Wales.
Well, my number 7 is, I have to say, it is a guilty pleasure. It's one of the sweetest, most saccharine songs you'll ever hear. But I just absolutely adore it. And it's Cliff Richard's Wind Me Up, Let Me Go from 1965, 3 weeks at number 2. It's on that Cliff 40 Golden Greats. And again, it's one that I've always loved. It's got a little sort of a horn section at the start. And yes, it is so sweet. It's almost sickening sweet. But I just absolutely adore it. Always have. And it definitely had to get into my top 10. It sits at number 7. Wind Me Up, Let Me Go.
Yeah.
About little soldiers, those things like that there. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I like this. Wind me up. It's the way he winds it up and then just goes, oh, let me go. He put so much into that. And I think it was quite a popular song because it's got a lot of atmosphere as well. It's a good choice. My number 7, from 1966, and it's the Trogs' Wild Thing.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh yeah.
Yeah, one of the best songs that they ever wrote, and it's sort of they never really wrote great songs after that. That was There were some good songs, but not as good as that. Kept off number one by Paint It Black, so it was a good number one anyway. I think that was at number just for 1 week.
Yeah. I think, the wild thing, a lot of people think of Jimi Hendrix live performance of that even more so than the Trogs. But I do like the Trogs, and it very nearly got my bubbling unders, but something else pushed it out at the end. But it's an excellent choice. Well, my number six is from a band we both did rankings of their albums, and it's The Who from 1966, and it's I'm a Boy. Now, I could have picked My Generation, but I'm a little bit tired of it. But I think I'm a Boy is an absolutely fantastic song. And if you listen to the lyrics now, and the way the world is going, it doesn't seem so silly now
Uh,
because my mum thinks that I'm a girl, but I'm really a boy. And oh, I don't know, but I think it's a really catchy song. Only 1 week at number two. The Who never had a number one at all, which is it's very, very surprising. But I'm a Boy, 1966, 1 week at number two.
yeah, I've got that dilemma which one to go for, but you'll find out which one I went for in a moment. But yeah, it's a good song, you know, worthy of a number two. Should have been number one,
I think so.
honest. Okay, my number six is from 1968, and it's the one that starts, "Wouldn't it be nice to get on with me neighbour?"
And
The
yes,
Small Faces and Lazy Sunday. I love this song. It's catchy, it's fun, and it was about that period. I think it was only at number two for 1 week, but it was a great song, and it was kept off number one spot by Louis Armstrong's "What a Wonderful World" and "Cabaret."
well, What a Wonderful World is one of the most beautiful songs ever written. So I'd be happy with it being number one.
Yeah,
Now, good choice. My number five is by the Beach Boys, and they had two number two hit singles from Pet Sounds. And I think 99% of the world would pick the one that I'm not going to pick. But I'm going to pick Slip John B from 1966. It got to number two for 1 week. The vocals on it are absolutely brilliant. Yes, I know it's an old song. It's not a Brian Wilson original, and many people think it's out of place on the Pet Sounds album. But there's something about it. I just absolutely love it. And again, it's one of those songs that you have to play about twice in a row. Once is not enough, and you rewind it back and play it again. And yes, I do like God Only Knows, which everybody loves. But for some reason, I always think it's a little bit too plinkety plunkety. So I do at times. But for me, Slip John B is a magnificent single and deserved to get to number two. Actually, deserved to get to number one. But that's my number
yeah,
five.
I'm with you on that one. God Only Knows is a great song, but I do think that Sloop John B is it's a great traditional song, and the way that Brian interpreted it.
I think Slip John B is the better single. God Only Knows might be the better song. I don't think God Only Knows is a great single, but it's a fantastic song. But Slip John B as a single is brilliant.
Yeah, really good choice there. My number five is the other Who song,
My Generation.
My Generation. I think it's just because I just love John Entwistle's bass line. It's just so iconic. The rest of the song, yeah, but it's when you get that bass line, it just goes, well, hey, this is good. And I loved John Entwistle as a bass player. He was such one of the coolest bass players in the 60s because he just stood at the back and just done it. No fancy stuff. Bit like Bill Wyman, just stand there and be cool.
Yes.
It's just a great song. And I think it appeals to every generation that comes along. They sort of get a hook on it. You know, there's people today I know of the generation today, they love My Generation.
Oh no, it's a fantastic song. It really is. And with John Entwistle's bass, I think you know the way you talk about Keith Moon's drums are pretty high up in the mix. Excuse me, especially in the '60s music. I think John Entwistle's bass, especially in the '60s, is very high up in the mix, and it is brilliant. You know, and oh no, it's a fantastic song. But fair, I'm a boy.
Yeah.
Okay, before I go on to my number four. I have a sneaky feeling we're going to match with number ones. We'll see.
Yeah.
But anyway, number four is from 1960, and this is the earliest of mine, and it stayed at number one for 4 weeks. And it also, I think, or it's number two. I knew I couldn't get there. I knew I couldn't do it. Number two. I think it was in two separate occasions. I think it was the end of 68 and the start of 61. And it's the Drifters, Save the Last Dance for Me, which I think is an absolutely beautiful, beautiful song. Now, I do like that version, and I also like the one that they re-recorded in 1973, which is another gorgeous version. But Save the Last Dance for Me is one of the most beautiful love songs out. And if you actually listen to the words, they're really, oh, they're perfect because a couple go out. You can dance with whoever you want, but at the end of the night, dance with me. You're going to come home with me. Beautiful. So that gets my number four.
Yeah, great choice. I haven't even picked that one, but it is a great song. One of my favourite Drifter songs. It's just perfect, and you're right. The lyrics are just wonderful. Proper love song without being sloppy and pass the bucket round. That's
Exactly.
what I like about that. It's everything's happened. I think we've all been there. So
Yep.
yeah, what a great choice. My number four is from 1966. 2 weeks at number two. It's The Loving Spoonful and Daydream. What a song. That start, that what a day. It's absolutely brilliant. I've got a great version of that by Dwayne Eddy.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, it's a great song, and as an instrumental, it just shows what a great band the Loving Spoonful were. It's just one of them tracks. Kept off number one by Manfred Mann. Was it Pretty Flamingo?
Yeah. It's not a bad song either. I've got the suite. Well, you probably have it as well, doing Daydream.
Yeah.
It's on the first album.
Yes.
You know, it's a classic 60 single. You
Yeah.
know, it's one of those songs that you automatically think would have been a number one hit, but it just didn't quite get there. Well, my number three is Petula Clark and Downtown from 1964, 3 weeks at number two. I'm not a huge Petula Clark fan. I do like a few of her singles, but Downtown is just brilliant. So it is the backing of it is wonderful. The instrumentation is wonderful. It's such a catchy song, and it is the one that she is most known for. And I love it. Always have loved it. And it also charted in 1987 or 88 or maybe 89 with a remix, which was not very good at all. It got the 80s touch to it, but you listen to the original, it's just perfect. And that's my number three.
Yeah, great song. Yeah, like you, there's not many Tudor Clark songs I like. That one is just a classic. It's such a catchy tune, catchy chorus. Everybody sort of knows it. My number three is from 1969. 2 weeks, Fleetwood Mac and Oh Well.
Right, okay. I was close to putting that into my bubbling unders, but I didn't because there's another one in there.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. Out of the two, I sort of listened to both of them and I went, yeah, I think this is it because I love that. I like the whole thing, even because this is only part one, but the whole song, because the part two, you got the Spanish guitar. It's just a fantastic piece of music. Kept off the top by the Arches, Sugar Sugar.
Ah, brilliant song. Absolutely brilliant.
So,
Brilliant.
that's a brilliant song. So is Oh Well, but Arches deserve to be number one on that one.
No, great choice. Well, my number two is from 1964 for 2 weeks, and it is Ragdoll by the Four Seasons, or Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. I think it's just Four Seasons, but the harmonies in that are wonderful. The end of it is brilliant whenever they're all going a register higher. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful song. In fact, I really do like the Four Seasons singles. I would like to get a couple of albums to see what they're like. But Ragdoll, one of my favorite Four Seasons songs, number two for 2 weeks in 64.
Great song.
Yeah.
When I went to see the Jersey Boys, they done that, and I was like, okay, let's see how good these guys are, because I knew what was coming, and they pulled it off.
That's a fantastic song. Those
Yeah.
vocals are brilliant.
I mean, the Jersey Boys show is just something else. If people haven't seen it when it's out, it's always touring. Go and see it, because sometimes you feel that you're not watching the show, you're watching the Four Seasons. It's a terrific show. Yeah, great choice. Absolutely great choice. My number two is the first song ever played on the Radio 1.
You know that. Yeah.
1967. 2 weeks at number two. And it's, of course, The Move and Flowers in the Rain.
Mm-hmm.
A great song. Catchy.
It is. Mm-hmm.
I've heard one or two people do covers of it, but it just doesn't sound the same. I've heard, was it some when the Radio 1 album, and it was a dreadful. This is the best version. Kept off the top spot though by two artists, so it sort of one jumped over the other. The first one being The Last Waltz by old Engelbert.
I hate that song. No, I love Release Me, but I hate The Last Waltz.
Yeah, and then it got jumped over by the Bee Gees and Massachusetts, which is a great song anyway. So one, I thought, no, that Flowers in the Rain should have been number one, but Bee Gees, you can't go wrong with Massachusetts. It's a beautiful song. So, and I love Flowers in the Rain. I mean, I love The Move because it's Roy Wood and Jeff Lynne and Bevan, so it's just a great classic song from the 60s for me, that one.
Right, so give me a thumbs up if this is your number one. Give me a thumbs down if it's not, but I think it is. Number one, the best number two single of the 60s for me, and by a long way, is Waterloo Sunset by the Kinks. No! Oh my God! How could you not have that? It is absolutely brilliant. It's one of the best songs ever, never mind of the 60s. Absolutely brilliant song about Terry and Julie. It's the Kinks had been banned from America. I think it was around 66 or so. So their music that they were producing from about 67 to 69 was very, very English. And this is a very English song, but it is perfectly written, perfectly performed. It's just magnificent. And most people, Kinks fans, will actually put it as their number one. How this did not get to number one, I do not know. I should have looked up what kept it off, but I didn't want to be disgusted, so I never bothered. But my number one is the Kinks' Waterloo Sunset for 2 weeks in 1967.
That was one of the songs that I sort of toiled with it. I mean, it'd be definitely in my number six in A Bubbling Under, but or in that one of the six. But
fair enough.
I do like it, but it seems that if you go to a Kinks album, a compilation, it's either Waterloo Sunset that's on. It's the one that's on there, and people go, "Oh, I love the Kinks," and you talk about other songs, and they say, "What's your favourite?" Waterloo Sunset, and you tell them others, and they say they don't have no clue. It goes above their head. So I love the song myself. I mean, but it didn't get into my charts. But it is a great record.
Yeah.
Now, my number one is one of my favourite 60s bands that everyone sort of forgets about. I love it. So get your stomping boots on for this one. It's the Dave Clark Five from 1964. Bits and Pieces. I love that. as a kid, I used to stomp around in my dad's. He
Mhm.
had the thing. I mean, I've got a pair of them now. So I call them my day part. I just love it. It's just stomping around. Kept off number one by Cilla Black. Anyone who had a heart,
Yeah.
and
I,
then
I like
Little Children, Billy Drake Kramer. Some,
I don't know very much about the Dave Clark fan. I know Glad All Over, everybody knows that, but bits and pieces, I'm sure I'd know it if I heard it.
I'm
It's
in
one that's
bits
sort of
and pieces.
all I can say from that, it's no bloody Waterloo Sunset.
No, it's jump up around. I think it's because it's as a kid I loved it. I think that's why it's my number one. I just loved it.
Fair enough. That's fair enough. Right, well, I go through my five bubbling unders then. And the first one from 1962 for 1 week, and it's Del Shannon's Swiss Made with a little bit of yodeling in it, but I always think it's really good. I love the keyboard on it. I love the yodel on it. Catchy as hell. The next one is the other Fleetwood Mac one I picked is Man of the World from 1969, which got to number 2 for 1 week. I think it's a beautiful song. And they did use that song over here in Northern Ireland during the Troubles to sort of highlight the issue. In other words, stop the fight and this is what happens. And so it means a little bit more to me. This one, you may be surprised, but it's an instrumental from 1961. It stayed at number 2 for 3 weeks, and it is Mr. Ackerbilk and Strangers on the Shore, which I think is
Nothing wrong with
gorgeous.
that.
Absolutely love it. That clarinet is beautiful. Then we have 3 weeks at number 2 in 66/67. It was 2 separate occasions, and it's the Seekers' Morningtown Ride, which part of the Best of the Seekers album, which my parents had, which I love, and I couldn't believe I missed that for our video of the best greatest hits albums, but there you go. And the last one, this is the one that actually pushed out Wild Thing, and it is from 1966, and it's the Rolling Stones' 19th Nervous Breakdown, which fantastic single around the aftermath period, and absolutely love it. And my sixth would have been Wild Thing. So there you go.
Yeah, so great choices there. I mean, Ackerbilk's great. I love that. It's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Well, my bubbling unders. My first one is one of yours, the Seekers' Morningtown Ride.
Good.
1966. Again, a great song. The Seekers were a big family favourite. As you know, I've done a retro ranking on the Seekers when Judith died. It's just a beautiful song. Now, here's a weird one from 1967. Traffic. Hole in My Shoe.
Neil.
Yeah. Did I like that version? Not very much. I love the Traffic version. Just brilliant. Now, I've got one of them weird, wonderful instrumentals from 1959. A theme for a summer place, Percy Faith. Now, my mum had this on a single, and I can remember it. I can't remember what label on it, but it was a bright orange label with a white top. It's a lovely piece of music, and I've used it so many times on my holiday videos because it just is a beautiful song. Kept off the top by Johnny Preston's Running Bear, another one of my favourite.
Okay. 1959 for the 60s.
It came out. Sorry, it came out. It was released in '59, but didn't get to number one until 1960. Thank you for
number two, not number one.
I've said it as well now, haven't I? Yeah, it did. It was released. It was one of them slow burning.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair enough.
Yeah,
that's
okay. I cocked up. There you go. My next one is definitely from 1966, and it was number 2 on the day I was born. So it was kept off the top by Jim Reeves, and it's Bend It. Now I've got to get this right. Dave D, Deaky Bit, Beaky, Mitch, and Titch.
Something like you missed a dozy there. There's a dozy in there.
Yeah, there is a dozy. I love that song. I just love that bend. It's got that Greek sort of swingy sort of feel to it. And my last one is a band. Well, two brothers, a big in our house, the Everly Brothers. I didn't. It's amazing you forget that this one was later on in their careers. 1965's "The Price of Love."
Yeah, I know. Cole did a good version of that as well.
Yeah, they've
Brian,
done two. Quote did two versions of it.
yes, they did. They did one on the Rock Till You Drop album as well.
Yes, and then there's one that was on. I think it was Spare Parts.
I think it was just a single in its own
So
right, was it?
they've done two versions. It's just a great song.
So there you go. Yeah, I enjoyed that. Really, really good. Surprised at your number one. I honestly thought it would have been Waterloo Sunset, but
I
there
think
you
it's
go.
because, as I said, I think it's because I used to like jumping around to that as a 5-year-old. Apparently, I
Yeah,
just
that's what I love.
down with it, and that's probably why it's stuck in my head. I mean, I love that Part Five. So next up, it's the 90s, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I won't have very many bubbling unders for that, by the way.
No, I haven't. I don't think. Anyway, as usual, it's a pleasure to do these. I love these. I don't think we're going to go past the 90s because I can't even find. So we're going to have to come up with another theme now.
That'll do. No problem.
When you become popular, when this show becomes popular, you're on demand. The pressure's on now. Anyway, it's lovely to be with you again, Richard. Tomorrow we've got obviously two birthdays in the VC. Two great people that we both know. One of them is Nick from Nick Vinyl Butty, which is a Northamptonshire lad just up the road from me, and he's always on the live stream doing his impressions of Gumby at the moment with his knotted hanky. And the other person, it's the legendary, the one and only Mr. Jimmy Barnes' birthday tomorrow. So another legend in the VC. His videos are great. If you've never watched them, go and watch them. My live stream has appeared on one of his videos.
There you
I think
go.
it was it for your 10 questions? The response to the question.
Yes, I think so. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, Jim's a good lad. Even though he needs to have a word with himself about Queen, he really does.
Yeah, we need to educate him, don't we? Anyway, that just leaves me to say it's goodbye for me.
And it's goodbye from him. Bye.
Bye, folks.